What's the most important part of prepping for a thru hike? Is it getting your gear ready? Is it researching the right tent stakes and the right freaking trail runners and all this stuff? In my opinion, it's none of that stuff. The most important thing that you can do in preparation of an Appalachian Trail thru hike, or any thru hike for that matter, is prep your mind. That's right, folks. Today we're going to be going over 3 mental challenges that thru hikers face on the Appalachian Trail. How's it going, everybody? My name is Kyle O'Grady. My trail name is Nar, and in 2018, I thru hiked the Appalachian Trail. And if you don't believe me, take a look at this picture of myself in Virginia. That should tell you all you need to know about my thru hike. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you're getting ready for an Appalachian Trail thru hike. And let me just say, the fact that you're researching mental preparation before the AT is a very, very good sign for yourself. Now, I can't guarantee that you're gonna make it, obviously, but the fact that you're taking the mental game seriously tells me a lot about your chances of successfully completing the Appalachian Trail. Now, don't get me wrong, mental preparation is not the only type of preparation that you should do before your thru hike. Of course, you should research gear and make sure you have the best gear possible, but it doesn't matter how many videos you watch of people reviewing freaking tent stakes. It doesn't matter how much time you spend debating between which ultralight $30 Amazon pillow you're gonna buy. And it doesn't matter how much time you spend weighing different types of plastic water bottles to lower your base weight as much as you possibly can. All that stuff doesn't matter if you end up quitting the trail the first time you start to feel down and out on your thru hike. Let's get into these mental challenges that thru hikers face on the Appalachian Trail. These are largely based off of my experience thru hiking the Appalachian Trail, so I'm not going to guarantee you that every single thru hiker faces these, but they are pretty common, and even if you don't face them, I still think that you're going to be able to take something away from this video. So mental challenge number 1 is feeling overwhelmed at the beginning of your thru hike. Now, in my experience, as soon as I left from Amicalola Falls State Park, this overwhelming feeling hit me. It smacked me right in the freaking face. And this feeling lasted for at least my first week on the trail. It probably lasted even longer too. And again, this is based off of my experience, so it's possible that you don't feel this right at the beginning like I did. However, there is a good chance that you're gonna feel overwhelmed towards the beginning at some point. And it's really important that you expect this and that you guard against this. So how do I guard against this, Kyle? Well, thank you for asking. That's what I'm about to freaking explain here, people. Just take it day by day. I would constantly catch myself looking ahead in AWOL, looking ahead at what was to come, looking at how many freaking miles I had. And I made a conscious choice after my first week on the trail that I was never, ever gonna focus on how many miles I had left on my thru hike. I was only gonna focus on how far I had come, and I was gonna celebrate that. It sucks because in the AWOL guidebook, which is what I was using in 2018, it has the mileage of how far you have left next to every single waypoint. And I really just kind of had to train my brain to just block that part of the guidebook out. Just don't pay attention to that. Doesn't exist. Only pay attention to the number on the left, because that's how far I had come, and that's what I wanted to have in the back of my mind. Break it down. Literally take it town by town, day by day. Do not think too far ahead. You'll keep yourself grounded and you won't get overwhelmed at the beginning of the trail. The second mental challenge that a lot of thru hikers face on the Appalachian Trail, one that I certainly faced, is becoming a victim to the routine. Now, if you've never done a thru hike before, you might kind of laugh at that. You're like, Kyle, you're on a hiking adventure. Why would you ever fall victim to a routine? And like, I get it. You're on a vacation, technically. You're going on this crazy adventure, and it seems like on the surface, every single day is going to be exciting. Every single day is going to be awesome. And you're definitely going to have a lot of exciting days. You're definitely going to have a lot of crazy freaking experiences. But the truth is, just like anything else in life, once you do it enough, you kind of get used to it. It kind of becomes a routine. And again, routines aren't necessarily bad, but once the thru hike starts to lose that initial spark, the honeymoon phase, that's what a lot of people call it. Once the thru hike is past the honeymoon phase, that is when a lot of people quit the trail. I hate to say this, but it almost feels like a job that you're basically getting robbed to do, because you're losing money and not making money. Some people like their jobs, some people don't like their jobs, and you need to be one of the people that likes the job. You need to be the person that likes the routine of thru hiking, once that initial excitement has worn off. If you haven't read the book Appalachian Trails by Zach Davis, I highly recommend it. Pretty much everything I'm about to say here is said much more eloquently in that book, and it's a fantastic read if you're looking to do a thru hike. And he talks about how at this point in the thru hike, people are either gonna quit, they're either gonna continue on out of stubbornness and they're not gonna have any fun. My camera battery died. Or they're gonna find a way to have fun and keep things fresh. Now, doing this is a lot more difficult than it is just standing here and bullshitting about it. Honestly, you have to get creative. You have to find some way to entertain yourself. So Mike, what do you think of all this nature?
It's very sexy.
There's a couple different ways that I coped with this on my thru hike. One way was planning on meeting up with friends along the way. I was fortunate enough to know a couple friends that lived relatively close to the trail, and as I moved north, anytime I was close to somebody, I would always try to have them sponsor me for a night. Let me take a shower, let me do some other hiker trash bullshit. I know not everybody will have opportunities to see friends along their thru hike, so if that's your case, make friends with somebody else on the trail that has friends and mooch off of them. No, I'm just kidding. But for real, that did kind of happen to me a couple times. I was hiking with other people who knew people along the trail or had friends, family visiting them, and then I was kind of able to tag along. So, hey, don't rule it out completely. Another way that I was able to kind of shake up the routine now and then was just trying to play like little stupid trail games. And one that comes to mind to kind of give an example of what I mean by that, because that really made no sense at all. I would basically chirp my friends in the logbooks at shelters, which sounds totally ridiculous, but at one point, Mullet Mike and I, again, we kind of had this little rivalry going. And when I say rivalry, it was mostly just me being a jackass to him, but every time I would get ahead of him and I passed a shelter, I would write like a little chirp in the logbook, like, oh, Mullet Mike hates puppies, or just something stupid like that. Mullet Mike eats shit for breakfast. Sorry, Mullet. You didn't have a stove either. You were cold soaking, so can you imagine cold soaking shit in the morning? Okay, back on track. I think you guys get what I'm saying here. Don't fall victim to the routine. It's easier to do that than you think. Keep things fresh, be creative, and don't forget to have fun. So this last mental challenge that thru hikers face on the Appalachian Trail, and this was especially true for me. If you're a thru hiker watching this, I'd love to know in the comments if you fell victim to this as well, but I think this is a big one. We talked about being overwhelmed at the beginning with how many miles you have left to hike. And as you get close to the end, I'm talking as you get to the state of Maine, don't start thinking about the end yet. Seriously, I harped on it during that beginning one. It's definitely true while you're down in Georgia still, but it's especially true while you're at the end of your thru hike, while you have only a couple weeks left to go. Like I said at the beginning, I made a conscious choice to not ever focus on how many miles I had left, and I stuck with that all the way from Georgia to New Hampshire. But as soon as I got to that Maine border, something just clicked in my head. I was like, okay, Georgia to Maine, like that's the trail. Like I'm in Maine, I'm almost there, I'm so close. I can start thinking about the end. Don't do that. That was a huge mistake. Maine was absolutely the hardest mental state for me on the Appalachian Trail. It was not even close. And that sounds kind of weird. It's like I had literally walked 2,000 miles at that point. I was so close to the end. I literally only had a couple weeks to go. And yet I was struggling mentally because I let those thoughts of the end creep into my head, and as soon as they crept in, they just flooded that shit. Like it was over. All I could think about was finishing. All I could think about was being done. And I really hate to say this, but it did kind of put a damper on the last couple weeks of my thru hike. On Friday, it was really cold and it rained. And being cold and wet really sucks. I was kind of cursing the trail then, just really ready to be done. And the reason I'm making this a separate challenge in this video is because when you're at the start of your thru hike, it's really more a feeling of overwhelmingness, like I kind of said earlier. But when you're at the end, you're not overwhelmed anymore because you're so close. Instead, it's like you're basically just racing yourself. It was like a constant battle between, on one hand, trying to enjoy my last couple weeks and enjoy the time I have with these people that I've been hiking with, and on the other hand, just constantly fighting myself like I'm so close. So if you're hiking northbound and you make it to Maine, don't give in. Keep your head down, keep cranking away. Sure, you can picture yourself on top of Katahdin. That's not really what I'm talking about. fact, you probably should picture yourself on top of Katahdin. You can think about that, but don't think about how many miles you have left. Instead, try to soak in everything you can. Focus on processing what you've just gone through. Sure, you can think about your life after the trail. You're gonna think about your life after the trail. That's inevitable, but don't let it overwhelm you. Try to stay grounded, try to stay in the moment. If you can do that, I guarantee you that you're gonna enjoy those last couple weeks on the trail way more than I did. Again, the fact that you're watching this video is a very good sign. It means you take the mental preparation very seriously, which you absolutely should. It's something that I feel like not enough thru hikers do. Let me know if there's any other topics relating to the mentality of thru hiking that you would like me to cover, any questions at all. I honestly love talking about this stuff. I have a podcast called Trail Tales. I've put out 52 episodes of this podcast, and I've only had a dedicated gear episode one time, 1 out of 52. And the reason is because I just think this mental preparation stuff is so much more important than the gear stuff. Make sure you hit that like button so this video will get more views, and one day I can be as famous as Dan Becker. And make sure you subscribe as well, because I'm going to be putting out weekly videos just like this one, trying to help people get ready for their thru hikes of the Appalachian Trail, as well as other hiking and backpacking related content. Smash that subscribe button, smash that subscribe button, yeah! I've become every YouTuber that I hate. Happy trails.